Hi there, I'm Denise Jones and welcome to another one of Dorset and Guernsey area of NAFAS's YouTube mini demonstrations. So I'm delighted to be back. So still in lockdown, we're still obviously waiting for that magic day where we can all get out and about back to normal. Anyway, hello again. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do a really beautiful hand tied, but actually through an armature. This is rather an old armature that I have, but this is basically the design. And you can use this for a hand tied, or you can use it to actually place in a vase and then arrange your flowers through it. So the purpose of an armature is to actually support your flowers, but it can be decorative or just for supportive reasons. This was more a naturalistic one, it's quite old, just thought I'd show you for the actual shape that we're actually going to achieve. So to make the armature, what you need is you need some wire. So I've chosen the decorative aluminium wire, which is the 2mm thick. A pair of wire cutters or a pair of scissors that have the actual serrated edge that you can cut the wire in the centre of your scissors, and some waterproof florist tape. Okay, so you can use stud wires, but you would need to tape them together to the required length. So today, for easiness and for quickness to show you, I've chosen the aluminium 2mm decorative wire that you can buy on a reel, like so. And if you just type into your search bar, if you use Google, just type in aluminium florist wire 2mm thick. And then it comes on a reel. And I've chosen today the pink metallic colour. Really gorgeous. And it's why I've chosen this one as well is if you're going to have a go, it's quite malleable. So if you struggle with your hands, if you have like any condition like arthritis, or even if you're doing it with children, it's like really easy to bend, so another good reason for choosing this wire. Let's put that on the floor. Okay, so I've pre-prepared my wire lengths. So all you would do is you would pull out your reel wire to whatever length you want, but these are about 50 centimetres long, and you pull them out and you just snip them off and you keep pulling out the lengths until you end up with 12 equal lengths. Now you could do it with 8, 10, 12. My hand time is going to be quite large, so I've chosen 12. When you're cutting the wires, they have to be even numbers. You can't do it with 5 or 9 or 7, because I will show you why in a moment. So I've got 12 equal lengths of about 50 centimetres. And then what you do is you put them into a bundle and have them as straight as you possibly can. And then what we do is we will tape them together. So you decide on how high you want your handle. Mine is going into a vase, and I don't want my sort of wires to be decorative to be showing. So I'm kind of going to have it 2 hands high because I want as much frame as possible. So from about 2 fists up, that is where I'm going to tape it. So this is why I've actually chosen the waterproof florist pop tape. You could wire it instead of taping it if you wanted it to be more decorative. So as per a little nuisance there, can't actually get into the tape. So let's snip that little bit off. That's how sticky it is. As I said, you could use the stub wire, but if you're using the stub wires or the Gregor wires, then you would need to cover them with sort of a parafilm tape or something similar. So let's finally enter this. There we go. I'm just going to break a little piece off, flat them up again. As I say, just very, 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 very sticky, which is a good thing because we want it to be really nice and secure. Doesn't matter too much if they're not absolutely exactly level at the bottom. Now, one of the reasons also for using the waterproof pop tape is the fact that this is going to go in a vase of flowers, so vase of water with the flowers. So of course we want to make sure that it's waterproof in there. and the green pop tape means that it won't vividly show against the green stems of the hand tied. Obviously if you had other decorative wire scrunched up in your vase, then it wouldn't matter so much, it would become part of the design itself. So round and round, right to the end. So the idea is that this armature is going to look a little bit like a flower, and then it becomes part of your structure. So what we do is we just bend them over at a 90-degree angle, and as you pull them out, they will kind of even up as you pull them out. You can kind of have a little look. So from a health and safety point of view, just be very careful that you don't poke your eye out. Obviously where you've cut the ends of your wire, you know, they are quite sharp. So, and then just have a little look down the centre, you can kind of see where they fall. Okay, so what we do is to begin our armature, we take two together and we slightly bend each one to make it look like a little petal. And then we take our thumb and our forefinger and we twist it twice. Okay? So we go 1, 2. I think if you were doing this for the first time, probably a slightly smaller one. If you measure your wires to about 30 centimetres, that might be slightly more for your first time. Okay, so we do the same with the next two wires, and we just slightly bend them to make it look like a petal shape. So we're trying to make these petals a very similar shape and size. So 1, 2, and we can manipulate that a little bit more. So we repeat that all the way around. So as we have 12 wires, we are going to end up with 6 petals. So that's the reason why we can't do it with an odd number, or we would just have a random spare wire left. Okay, so again, just 1, 2, and you can bend these wires out of the way while you're working. So when it starts off, it looks a little bit like a spider. There's lots of different techniques about making armatures you can use. You can make ones that look like trees. But as I say, today we are making one that starts off with like petal forms and then ends up looking like the trumpet shape of a flower. Okay, so last one in just that little section. So this is kind of like layer 1. 1, 2. It's not a new technique. It's been around for a little while. So some of you may have already seen this. So there we have a beautiful layer 1 of the petals. So next what we do is we keep building up these layers as we go around. So we don't continue with the same 2 wires as we've made for the first petal. We take 1 wire of this petal and then we take the very next wire of the next petal. Okay, and we actually repeat the technique. But this time it's going to look more like a teardrop than a petal, and it's going to be slightly larger. So, but we cross them over. Ooh. And we go 1, 2, and then take the next 2. Just gonna, there we go. So we're always working with the 2 wires. So obviously the longer your wires are, the larger your framework for this armature is going to be, so the largest kind of the flower shape is going to be. So the one I showed you earlier had 3 layers, and this one I will do with 3 layers, and then we'll just scrunch the ends around. And what's lovely when you're using this decorative aluminium wire means that obviously it doesn't matter if it shows, because obviously it can become part of your design. So I've got just a couple more to show you. Once you've finished the structure, of course you can manipulate it as much as you want to be as flat or as sort of more scooped effect. I'll show you that in a moment. So again, crossing the wires, 1, 2 twists. That one's a little bit on the large side. I'm just going to pull that in a little bit. And twist that. So there we have two layers of our flower. So I'm just going to do one final layer, so layer 3. So again, we don't carry on with where we've just made this one here. We go back to taking the first wire here and the wire opposite, and again I'm just going to make this slightly larger as the further we go out towards the outside, the more larger I'm going to go with the actual structure. One, two, cross them over, 1, 2, leave these ends out, just turning it each time, go to the next wire. So it's just repeating that sequence. It's actually quite therapeutic if you're sitting in your dining room or at your kitchen table and you've got your vibes on and maybe a nice cup of tea or a glass of wine, and you could make a few of these obviously if you wanted to in advance, all different colours. So last one we have, just nipping this one down here, so just crossing those over, watching my eyes. 1, 2. So there we have in the basis, rather an untidy looking armature at the moment. So what you can do is you could go around with another layer if you wanted to. What I'm actually going to do is just bend these ends over, back on each other to create the final little structure like so. And I will continue with that all the way around. Okay, so now we've obviously finished the armature, so beautiful, it's quite a large one. We've just bent the little loose end round back on each other, and I've kept it quite in a sort of bowl shape. So I'm going to now start with this pistache. Got a large branch here, and this one's going to go right down the centre. So I'm going to start just building up. And what's great with this armature is you can literally thread it through. Like a hand tied, we go left to right and spiral and turn it. I'm just tucking it into one and then just pulling it through the one at the bottom. So we're coming out of lockdown, so I think it's only fair to dedicate this last hand tied, I think it's my last demonstration for Dorset and Guernsey, just on this little range of YouTubes for the moment, to the marvellous NHS that have been there for us. So I'm going to call this my rainbow bouquet. So we will see if we can get all the colours of the rainbow in honour of the NHS into this design today. So there we are, I'm just building up a little framework of pistache. Really nice. And so how easy has that gone into that armature? Really easy. It's worth having a go at making this armature if you're new to hand tides, because it makes it really easy for you. Okay, so next we're going to build up, I'm going to go a little bit out of order with the colours of the rainbow, because I want to put this filler Alchemilla Monas. Just look at that limey green, isn't it magnificent? So again, I'm just going to place a little bit at the edge and look at the contrast of that dark green to the lime green. It's absolutely amazing. So this is in the little, we've got a little cutting patch in the garden which we grow for our bouquets, and so this has come straight out of the little cutting patch last night. Had a really good drink, because it's really important that when you pick your flowers, whether you either choose them from the supermarket or you pick them from the garden, that you cut them at a nice slant and then give them a good drink, preferably overnight, in a good few inches of water. So I'm just threading it in and out of the bottom, and again just always going in at an angle. Now somebody taught me, if you're new to hand ties, the best way to get the angle right into your bouquet is to place the plant material on your shoulder, the opposite shoulder to the hand, and that is the way it's going to go in. So we'll try that one. So in and through and in to what we want. So I've got a bit of a gap here, so I'm going to start filling in just from the top. You can see that there, and we can just wiggle that as it goes in, but again always just at an angle. I think I've just got one more little gap. So that's our green. We've got two shades of green there for our green of the rainbow. I might just leave that there. We can maybe, no, let's pop that in now. Okay, so it's a really good framework of foliages, okay? So what's absolutely fantastic is where you've got this structure, you can just pop it in your vase, just waiting for you, and now we have some absolutely fabulous flowers for you. Okay, so we're going to start with a little bit of mixed red and orange, this Crocosmia or Montbretia, again from the Satin Patch, fabulous. So hopefully you've all been managing to do some gardening through lockdown, and these ones I'm just going to leave a little bit higher, so we've got a little bit of movement. We can just turn them around whatever we want them. So to start with, I'm making this as an all-round design, but as we start placing our feature blooms in, it will become a front-facing hand-tied arrangement so that you can have it on your sideboard. Just going to snip over off those really long ends. So just a little bit of movement with those Montbretia. Okay, so I'm just going to build up with some points. It's really important when you're flower arranging to have some sort of spiky plant material, as well as some bold plant material, and some fillers. So these are kind of fillers. So I'm just going to put 2 points here of the Snapdragon. And you can kind of feel your way through. So just 2 of those points that side. So we've got our nice rich pink there going in. So we're going to have a little bit of sort of like a coral and a little bit of yellow. And just look how delightful those throats of the Alstroemeria is. So 1 or 2 of these little heads have dropped off in the awful rain that we had just recently. So I'm just snipping off those 1 or 2 ends. And then just building up this, what we call a polychromatic flower arrangement, because this is going to have lots of different colours of the colour wheel in. So there we have it. What I love about the armature that we're using is that actually it allows you to have a spacious hand tied. When you're doing one without an armature, it's quite clumpy, and obviously until you're experienced it kind of wiggles around in your hand quite a lot. And what's fantastic about the using the aluminium wire is the fact that it doesn't matter if it shows, because obviously it's quite decorative. So now I'm just adding some of these fabulous agapanthus, okay, or African daisy. And this is, they're around all year round, obviously not growing Britishly, but you can get it as a cut flower through the auctions. Okay, so I've just had a little wiggle of that, and it's not crossed the right way, so I'm just going to push it back up, and what we want is this to cross in the right direction. So even when you're putting them through your armature, they still need to come from left to right. You can place in at the back, but again that goes the opposite way if you're placing it at the back. So at the moment all of this plant material is going through the armature, and I'm just checking at the top, I'm just going to show you. Look at the movement and the space in that, it's absolutely wonderful. So we have red and yellow, have a little bit of pink in there from the snapdragon, and lots of green from the foliages and the alchemilla moss. And now we're having a little bit of purple. Actually, we're having a little bit of a cheat with the agapanthus because it's actually sort of purpley blue, isn't it? So I think we can class that as purple and blue. So in we go with another one. This one's got a little bit of a bent stem. It's a little bit too long. I'm just going to snip that end off. Quite a juicy stem, the agapanthus, so again this is going to be quite nice just to hold that in position. And if it's very light, but the more obviously you put in, the more obviously you need quite a large hand on there, but keep a loose grip. So let's add a couple of really nice sort of pale lilac. So we've got some gorgeous alliums here. They dry lovely, so I'm going to put those in the centre, if I can wiggle that in, and have those just up a little bit. I'll just turn. So because this is an armature, I'm not turning it in the traditional manner of every single time. I'm letting just my eye from where I've got the placements to see, but always crossing. So I'm going to pull this one really quite low to get a little bit of depth in there, and I might actually do that with the other. So now we've got a bit of recession, so a little bit of depth with your eye going into the centre of this like hand tide. I'm just going to turn it around, see how we're going. So as I say, I think it was only fitting for the NHS to you know, all their, you know, and not just the doctors and nurses. I mean, all of the, you know, NHS staff that have contributed to keeping us ticking over and safe. Thank you for that. Okay, so before I add any more of the filler flowers, I actually want to get our Piece de la Resistance blooms in. So what do I have for you? So I'm just going to leave that there so you can see. I have these absolutely fantastic anthuriums. Just look at them, absolutely fabulous. Now they're also known as the flamingo flower or the tail flower, and I'll let you guess why that is. Or the Hawaiian heart. So I think I'll go with the Hawaiian heart because that is just gorgeous. And this lovely coral sort of two-tone. It's actually got flashes of pale green and a lovely sort of salmony pink. And these will last a long, long time. Great vase life, they can last up to 3 weeks. So sometimes, you know, if you're getting your flowers from a florist and they have these kind of flowers in, which might appear quite expensive as an individual flower, but boy do they last a long, long time. So these are going to go high so you can see them. These are quite bold and showy-offy, so we want to show them off. So we are going to have them so we can see them. And I am just going to space these out around the design. At different angles. You don't want them all facing the same way. So I'm just placing them at different angles around the design. So we're going a little bit tropical, we're going a little bit, you know, we're coming out of lockdown. I'm sure there's going to be lots of parties, hopefully. Socially distancing still, I would imagine, when we get the new laws from Boris very soon. So how better to go a little bit sort of party. Just look at this fabulous pampas grass. It's been dyed, of course it doesn't grow naturally like this. And we're going to place this in between and go a little bit festival. And so this is where, when I said earlier, I'm going to start making this a front facing bouquet. I'm going to pick up on the palest of the green of the anthuriums, and we've got these gorgeous cymbidium orchids. And we've got a perfect little place just there at the front. Again, you can pull the armature just to make it a little bit more malleable, and I'm going to tuck that in the front. Now just to finish off, I've got one gorgeous delphinium, and the delphinium is blue, nice rich royal blue. I'm going to put that high up so we can still see it. And the delphinium takes its name from the Greek word meaning dolphin. And I think just to finish off, I'm just going to put a little bit of a collar round, just on the outside of the armature, and turn it. So a couple of Fatsia japonicas, gorgeous, very palmate leaves there. Just going to use the back, just to create a little bit of a collar to finish it off. And we're just going to alternate it between a little bit of the bright purple hebe, just a cascade down, and another Fatsia. So now this is getting a little bit heavy. I'm quite full in my hand. But how gorgeous is this looking? Okay, so there we have our fantastic tropical feel celebratory hand-tied bouquet. So this just leaves me to tie it off. So you could use pop tape, but what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to use a little bit of raffia. So here's a little bit I had earlier. And what's great, as I say, with the armature is that, and you're just tying and going round your stems, around the back. I'm bringing that forward and tying it off in a bow. Absolutely amazing gift bouquet for somebody. So I hope you enjoyed learning how to do the wire armature. It's definitely worth having that skill, because as I say, it's great to use in a vase, or you can, like we have today, place all your plant material through it to make a fabulous hand ties. I'm just going to pull off the ends just slightly, and there we have our gorgeous, gorgeous, fabulous bouquet. So I'm just going to show you and place this in its vase. What you do is if you cut your stems right across, when they splay out, then when they sit on the bottom of the vase, they still, and you should, with a perfect hand tie, be able to actually just let it stand on its own. And there we have it. So thank you. We have red and yellow and pink and green, purple and orange, salmony oranges, and blue. Thank you very much, everybody.